The plastic edge of my passport made a soft click as it hit the laminate counter. That sound is a permanent resident in my head now. The gate agent didn't look like a harbinger of doom. Ba-e looks like someone who enjoys organized desk drawers. She typed, paused, then frowned at the monitor. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice as flat as a weather report. "Your ticket is invalid. There is no record of this booking in the system. I didn't cry. I'm a numbers person. I don't argue with data, but I do check the math. It's a group itinerary." I said, my voice steady. "My daughter and son-in-law are right there." I pointed toward the security checkpoint. They were already through the glass partitions, placing their gray bins on the belt. They didn't look back, not once. The agent turned the screen. I saw the truth in red boxes and empty fields. The confirmation number my son-in-law had emailed me was a ghost, a carefully crafted PDF that led nowhere. I looked back at the security line. My son-in-law, Mark, was staring intently at his phone, his jaw tight. His thumb flicking through emails he wasn't actually reading. He was too busy to notice his benefactor was being rejected at the gate. Then, my daughter stopped. For a heartbeat, I thought the tether would hold. She looked back, caught my eye through the glass, and mouthed a single word goodbye. It wasn't a question. It was a script. She turned and followed him into the terminal, leaving me standing in the hum of the scanners and the faint, bitter smell of burnt coffee. "Ma'am, do you want to step aside?" the agent asked. I didn't feel devastated. Not yet. I felt like I'd missed a decimal point in a long calculation. I nodded, moved my bag with my foot, and found a seat by the window. I'm Hollis Carter. I've spent 30 years balancing ledgers for people who tried to hide their mistakes in the margins. I should have seen this coming. I'd funded their lives, their failed startup, and now, apparently, their escape. I watched their plane pull away from the gate. I didn't call them. I didn't scream. I just watched the metal bird take flight and felt something inside me go silent and cold. The math finally added up. They didn't forget my ticket. They deleted me. I didn't grow up taking trips. I grew up balancing books. Seattle taught me that early. Rain meant nothing. Numbers did. I spent years as a chief bookkeeper for a supply outfit that paid on time if you stayed sharp. After that, I opened 2 small shops. Nothing fancy. Rent paid. Inventory tight. Cash flow clean. That was my thing. I didn't gamble. I counted. The Queen Anne house came later, my name on the deed, always my name. When my daughter moved back with her husband, it felt temporary. Then his business showed up. A startup? Big words, thin margins. He brought me a plan and a smile. "I just need seed money," he told me once, leaning on my kitchen counter like he belonged there. Short runway, high return. I told him returns don't come from hope. He laughed like I was kidding. I funded it anyway. I swear, that was the stupid part. I wired the first amount, then another. The company survived because I didn't let it drown. Everyone knew that. Nobody said it out loud. I don't like planes, or hotels, or standing in lines for fun. I told them that when the trip came up. "It's for family," my daughter said, soft voice. Same one she used when she wanted something not quite reasonable. Her husband nodded. "Once in a lifetime." I said no at first. Then I said maybe. Then I said fine. That's how it goes, right? You tell yourself it's not about you. I agreed to go because I thought it would steady things. Put us in the same room, same table. I thought if I showed up, they'd stop circling. I didn't go because I needed the trip. I went because I thought they needed me there. The idea arrived on a Tuesday, tucked between boxes of lukewarm Thai takeout. No build-up, no brochure. Just my son-in-law, Mark, leaning over my mahogany table like he was closing a venture capital deal. "We should all go to Europe," he said. "A full month. France, Italy, a real reset for the family." I looked at him. Mark doesn't travel unless there's a tax incentive. That should have been my first red flag. He leaned forward, his voice dropping into that persuasive pitch he used for his struggling startup. "It's cleaner as a group, Hollis. One agency, one batch for the visas and bookings. If we split the files, we risk being in different hotels." It makes sense. "Mom," my daughter added. She spoke too fast, her fork hovering midair. "Everyone does it this way now." Then came the pivot, the real reason for the dinner. Mark slid a printed spreadsheet across the table. It was too professional for a family vacation. "You'll want liquid assets over there," he said, pointing to a line item. 200,000 for the group fund. I'll manage the conversion so we don't get slaughtered on exchange rates. We'll keep it in a secure travel account under my business name for the VAT tax rebates. 200,000, he didn't blink, for a bookkeeper. Numbers are a language, and Mark had just told me a blatant lie. You don't need 200,000 in a business account for a month-long vacation unless you're laundering a debt or funding a disappearance. I felt that old itch in my chest, the one I get when the math doesn't hunt. I looked at my daughter. She wouldn't meet my eyes. "I'll think about it," I said slowly. He smiled, the relief on his face far too heavy. "Great. I'll need your passport by tomorrow to finalize the agency file." That night, I didn't sleep. I didn't confront them either. Instead, I pulled out my scanner. I copied every document they gave me, took screenshots of the agency emails, and sent them to my attorney, Martin. I knew my ticket wouldn't be real the moment I handed over my passport. But I didn't stop them. I wanted to see exactly how far they were willing to go to trade me for a bank balance. I woke up to voices. Not loud, careful, the kind people use when they think walls are on their side. His voice first. Low, tight. The interest rolled again. "We can't stall much longer." My daughter answered with a breath instead of words. I waited. That pause told me more than anything else. "We just need an extension." He went on. "A few weeks." That's it. Another pause. I stayed still, didn't shift the covers, didn't cough. I've learned how to listen without announcing myself. "She just has to be gone," he added, quicker now, like he'd practiced the sentence. "Once she's out of the picture, everything loosens up, out of the picture. Not out of town, not on a trip, out of the picture." My daughter finally spoke. "Lower your voice," he scoffed. "You think she hears silence again? Thicker this time." I counted it without meaning to. 1, 2, 3. She didn't defend me, she didn't argue, she didn't ask what he meant. He kept going, softer. "Once the paperwork clears, we're fine. The numbers work if we buy time." Numbers, paperwork, buy time. Words I used to hear from clients right before things collapsed. I didn't step out. I didn't turn on a light. I didn't confront them in their hallway like some dramatic scene. I lay there and let it settle. By morning, my coffee tasted the same. My hands didn't shake. I even nodded when they talked about flights and schedules. But something had shifted. I stopped trying to understand their plan. I started watching it. By the time I walked to a window overlooking their gate, they were already boarding. Not all at once, one by one. Shoes back on, bags zipped. Normal movements. That made it worse. My phone buzzed. A text from my son-in-law. "Looks like there was a booking glitch with your ticket. I'll sort it once we land." Once we land. Like I was staying behind on purpose. I didn't answer. I watched the line move instead. He stayed a few steps ahead of my daughter, close enough to guide her, far enough to pretend she had her own pace. She pulled out her phone. I knew that posture. Elbow tucked in, Head tilted, she smiled at the screen and snapped a photo. A second later, it popped up on her story, window seat, wing in the background, captioned with a heart emoji. No tag, no mention of me. That was when it landed. Not the plane. The truth? If this were a mistake, someone would have stopped. If this were fixable, someone would have waited. Nobody did either. The gate agent announced final boarding. The sound cut through me clean. No anger yet. Just a hollow drop, like an elevator losing cable. I walked to the seating area and sat down. My passport felt heavier than it should have. I flipped it open. Closed it again. The photo looked back at me like it didn't recognize where it was. Another buzz. Same thread. Don't worry, we'll figure it out. I put the phone face down. The jet bridge door slid shut with a soft thud. Not dramatic, not loud. Final. People around me clapped for no reason. Someone laughed. Life kept its pace. I stayed where I was, not frozen, not confused, just finished with pretending this was temporary. When their flight disappeared from the board, I stood up. I didn't rush. I didn't chase. I picked up my bag and felt something inside me go quiet. That was the moment I understood nobody was coming back. I watched the plane pull away from the gate like it had somewhere better to be. Slow at first, then committed. I checked the time on my phone. I know how long it takes before they lose signal. I counted it without thinking. Old habit. I called my attorney. Martin picked up on the second ring. He always does. They boarded. I told him. My voice didn't shake. That surprised me. He didn't ask who. Are you alone right now? Yes. Then we talk fast. I asked one thing. Everything still in my name. A pause, keys tapping, house, vehicles, primary accounts, business guarantees, all yours. They're authorized users. Nothing more. Authorized. That word landed clean. Can I lock the cards? Yes. The accounts tied to my assets. Yes. I closed my eyes for a second. Just a second. If I do this now, they won't know until they land. He cut in. No signal mid-air. I thanked him and hung up. I flagged the cards as stolen. I knew the bank's algorithm would do the rest the moment they tried a high-value transaction in a foreign country. The next account fed his company expenses. I froze it. The screen blinked and moved on like nothing happened. I canceled the hotel reservations one by one, all booked under my name. The confirmation emails stacked up fast. I texted the travel agency. Short message. Cancel remaining services. Effective immediately. They replied with a thumbs up emoji. That almost made me laugh. My phone buzzed. A missed call from my daughter. I didn't listen to the voicemail. Not yet. I opened the family group chat. My hands were steady now. I typed one line, read it twice, didn't soften it. Check your accounts when you land. I sent it and turned my phone face down on the table. None of it mattered. I packed my charger back into my bag and stood up. Not fast. Not slow. Just done. I know how this sounds. Cold. Calculated. Maybe it was. But here's the thing, I didn't take anything from them. I stopped giving. By the time their wheels hit the ground on the other side of the world, the life they borrowed from me would already be gone. I didn't see Paris. Not really. I saw my phone lighting up like it finally understood urgency. The first voicemail was my son-in-law. His voice came in tight and clipped. My card isn't working. None of them are. This has to be a bank error. The second was my daughter, breathing fast. Mom, the hotel can't find our reservation. They're saying it was canceled. We're standing here like idiots. I listened. I didn't answer. A few minutes later, another call, same number, different tone. We'll pay cash. He told someone near him. I could hear it. A desk clerk, maybe. A pause. Then his voice again, quieter. That's all the cash we have. That part stuck. All the cash we have. Another voicemail followed. Shorter, sharper. This isn't funny. Funny. I almost smiled at that. I checked the time. They'd landed less than an hour ago, already burning through what they thought was a cushion. I imagined them counting bills. I knew the amount. I knew how fast it would go when you stopped pretending. The next message came from my daughter again. No script this time. Can you just call us back? The phone vibrated against the nightstand. A persistent insect I chose to ignore. Everything they were trying to use was tied to me. The cards, the rooms, the confidence that someone else would clean it up. Without that, they were just people with luggage and expectations. I wasn't angry. Not anymore. I felt something closer to relief, like setting down a weight you forgot you were carrying. By the time the calls slowed, the power had already shifted. They just hadn't caught up yet. I didn't do everything at once. That's important. I spread it out over days, the way real life actually works. The first call was the locksmith. I gave him the address and my name. He checked the deed. Came back with a simple, "We can do this tomorrow morning." Tomorrow was fine. He showed up with a small case and no opinions. I stood in the doorway while he worked. Metal clicked. One lock, then another. He handed me 2 new keys. "Anyone else need copies?" he asked. "No," I told him. That part felt good. The next day, I called the leasing office where the company vehicles were registered. I read off the account numbers. My signature was still the one that mattered. They scheduled the pickup without drama. When the tow truck driver knocked, I didn't go outside. I watched from the window as the car disappeared. Quiet, efficient. Then I met Martin in his office. Same chair, same desk. He slid a folder toward me. "We're filing the report regarding the forged authorization." He explained, "This starts a process, not a spectacle." I nodded. "That's all I want." He looked at me for a second longer than usual. "Once this is filed, there's no pretending this was a misunderstanding." "I know," I replied. "There hasn't been any pretending for a while." Paperwork followed. Sign here. Initial there. Date spelled out. Everything slow and exact. No yelling. No revenge fantasies. Just facts lining up where they belonged. At home, the house felt different. Not empty, just quieter, like it had been waiting. My phone stayed mostly silent. A few messages came in. None I answered. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt settled, like I'd finally put something back where it was supposed to be. I wasn't tearing anything down. I was reclaiming ground that had always been mine. I let the phone ring the first time. Watched it buzz itself quiet on the table. I needed a minute. Maybe 2. Old habits don't die clean. When it rang again, I picked up, "Mom." My daughter started, and the word cracked halfway out, breathing loud. "Wet. They're asking questions. The hotel called the police. Mom, they're saying the booking was flagged for fraud. They've flagged our passports." I didn't rush her. I stayed quiet and let her fill the space. "They took his passport for a bit." She kept going. "They think the payment issue looks intentional. Like we knew the reservations were canceled." She swallowed. "I'm scared." I heard her pacing. Shoes on tile. The sound took me back to when she was little and couldn't sit still when she was nervous. That almost got me. "I didn't know it would go this far," she added. Softer now. "I thought you'd call. You always call." I leaned back in my chair. The wood creaked. That sound grounded me. I did call. I told her. My voice surprised me. Steady. "I called when I showed up. When my ticket didn't exist." She went quiet. I went on. "I stood at the counter with my passport in my hand. You walked away. That wasn't—" She stopped herself. "Tried again. We were going to fix it." "You left," I said. Not loud, not sharp. Just placed between us. She started crying for real then. "We need help." I closed my eyes. Thought about how many times I'd bridged things for her. Money, time, excuses. How easy it was to call that love. I gave you my trust and $200,000. You handed me back a fake PDF and a locked door. She whispered my name. I'm not coming, I said. Not this time. The line stayed open. I didn't rush to hang up. I let the silence do the work I used to do for her. Then I ended the call and set the phone down, face down, where it couldn't look at me anymore. The quiet afterward felt heavier than noise, but it held. It took months for things to settle. Paperwork moves slow when it's honest. My son-in-law stopped calling once his attorney started. The last thing I heard was that charges were filed. Not dramatic ones. Administrative. The kind that stick. My daughter came back with one suitcase. She showed up at my new, smaller doorstep, looking for the mansion she thought she still owned. I don't need money. She told me right away. I just needed to come home. I nodded. This house is sold. That landed harder than anything else. I didn't explain. I didn't soften it. I had already signed the papers, downsized to a small place near the water, enough space, no echoes. We talked after that, carefully, about ordinary things. Groceries, weather, nothing that required forgiveness on demand. That part stayed unfinished. I let it. The trip came later. I booked a first-class seat this time. I didn't need to save money for people who didn't want me around. My name printed clean on the ticket. No surprises. In Paris. I turned my phone off, not out of anger, out of choice. I walked until my feet hurt and ate dinner alone without checking the time. Nobody needed anything from me there. Here's what I learned. And I'll say it plain. Love doesn't mean unlimited access. Support isn't supposed to erase you. If giving costs your dignity, it's already too expensive. If this story hit close to home, like it. Leave a comment or subscribe. Somebody out there needs to hear it. I stood still for a moment. Phone dark. City loud around me. Power doesn't vanish. It just stops being given away.